So it's been a few weeks since solo leveling came to a close, and people that were reading a week-by-week basis probably feel very empty inside, because when you are enjoying a series, when you love a manga, a webtoon, whatever it may be, you usually are someone that, looks forward to that said chapter coming out at a specific date. For instance, just as how we look forward to, let's say, weekly Shonen Jump chapters on Sunday, or how we looked forward to solo leveling chapters on Wednesday, when a chapter doesn't come out and you realize the series is over, you feel a little bit of sadness inside your heart. And I know I've had many series come to a close, and I instantly went onto the internet and looked for something that was very similar to that said series that I could read or watch. And so today, I kind of want to bring it to everybody's attention. If you are still looking for something that might interest you, that is very reminiscent of solo leveling, but also different enough to not just say it is another solo leveling, then bring your attention to Omniscient Reader. This is actually a series I did a first impressions on many months back, and I did keep reading it by a week-to-week basis ever since then, and being completely caught up, it has been a great journey. Easily one of my favorite series I read week to week, besides, let's say, Hardcore Leveling Warrior in the same vein. So, when I look at Omniscient Reader, I was like, people are probably looking for something that is very similar to solo leveling, so I definitely should do a service to everybody and shout this series out once again. So, before I get into the current content that is going on within the series, I want to take this first beginning section of this video as kind of like another first impressions, kind of like a redone first impressions if you were actually interested in the series. So, Omniscient Reader. What is it about? Obviously, I'm kind of hyping it up, making it seem like it's like another solo leveling or something. It is a series that's down a similar vein, to where the world forever changes, you have monsters come into the world, characters are able to level up and get stronger, the typical stuff like that. However, Omniscient Reader is very different in a lot of areas. It does separate itself from the typical genre and formula, and what I mean by this is that our MC is a reader. Now, okay, I know that doesn't explain anything, so let me kind of clarify. Imagine if you were reading a book, reading a manga, reading a webcomic, whatever, watching a show, and all of a sudden, you find out you're like one of the very, very, very few that have completed that show, like when it finally comes to an end. And when it comes to an end, you're like, man, it's over. And when you realize this, it's like, it's amazing that you managed to finally see an end of a journey, but it leaves you with sadness. But what if that journey that you had, that world you read, that fantasy world, now became your reality? And that is what happens to our MC, Kim. He is someone that finished this series and was an individual that was the only person reading 3 Ways to Survive, a series that he read every single time a chapter came out. And he was the only active reader that would leave comments, etc., and, words of encouragement to the author. And so when the series came to an end, the series was removed. And on top of that, the world that he read now became his very reality. Everything mixed into his reality. Demons started to come, and everything became basically one giant live stream to entertain the people in another world watching while they all were put through death matches, etc. That's basically the general premise of what 3 Ways to Survive is. However, to mix things up a bit, our MC, since he is a reader, was actually gifted the entire novel from the author. Now, what this means is that all the current events going on in the world, that is basically starting from chapter 1 of that series, he is actually able to know what's going to happen. He's able to go back to individual chapters, reread it to see what is going to happen. And all of the actual characters, even the main character in that story, has appeared in his world. So he knows how certain main characters are, how they'll act, what they'll do in the future, or how bad they get. He knows who's potentially going to be villains. He knows plot twists, etc. It really makes a lot of interesting differences to the formula of this type of story. And that's why I really love Omniscient Reader. If that hasn't gotten you hyped enough already, I cannot recommend it enough. Like, seriously, just give it a shot. Read the first 3 to 4 chapters. It'll really just let you know what you're kind of getting into, and if you want to keep reading it or not. But I really fully recommend it. So, with that out of the way, let's actually get into some spoiler territory, where the current content of the series is at right now with the latest chapter. Not the, the fast pass chapters, but just the free chapters that you can read. So, one of the things I really loved in these recent arcs we got, like the 4th scenario, the 5th scenario, the 4th scenario being basically all about, like, who gets on the throne, etc., is just incredibly cool. Like, I really love the fact that, like, the world became kingless. Like, he gave up the throne. Like, our MC Kim, he gave up the throne. It's like, I don't want to be the king. And he kind of reveals a plot twist that if anyone was to sit on that throne, it would give them unimaginable power, but no matter who sat on, no matter how righteous you were or evil you were, the world would be doomed in the end. There would be nothing that could be done for the world. The world would effectively end. So the catastrophes for the next main scenario would just wipe everyone out. So I do like that little twist and how he tries to go against the norm, the formula that happens actually within the novels. For instance, he just destroys the chair. He does something very unexpected and even makes all of the actual watchers just in shock. Like, could he really do this? Why did he do this? And I love the direction the story has gone, because it crosses and treads a fine line of, like, plot armor for the MC, and it doesn't feel like he's become overpowered. That's something I want to talk about. You see, one thing about Solo Leveling that when I was reading the series that I love but also at the same time didn't like is that the MC, he was always someone that was powerful, yes, and it was fun to read and just see for yourself week to week, but it, at the same time, led to a lot of situations where it didn't feel like there was a lot of threat. But I feel like there is a lot of stakes, a lot of threat that's always there in the back of your mind while you're reading a chapter with the MC, Kim. Because even though he knows what's going to happen, even though he is someone that is gifted, that's able to kind of read the story theoretically can change to such a degree that it will no longer resemble the actual story that he was reading in the past. So he would not know what's going to happen in the future. You'd have to really play it by the ear and not really know what's going to happen. That's where the series really is powerful at, because eventually the world is going to separate to such a degree that no longer is he going to be able to utilize his status as a reader. He's just going to really have to play it by the ear and just understand maybe what content potentially could come. Now, I don't know how long the series necessarily is going to last, but I will say so far there is so much potential and a lot of things that can happen with the story, because for one, with the latest, scenarios we've gotten, we found out about other worlds like Kronos and all that was completely destroyed with Guardians that are supposed to come in and kind of stop the catastrophes from the world, and this kind of lets you know that, there is a potential possibility for a continuation. And what I mean by this is, hypothetically, okay? Let's say things go really south, and the entirety of the world is destroyed, like Earth is destroyed in this world. There's a possibility that our MC could be a returnee, because we found out about that recently. He could be a returnee and go to a completely different stream, a different world, and be like a guide, or be a returnee that's kind of like a catastrophe or whatever. Something like that could technically happen if, the series wants to go down that route. So there is a lot of potential for the story, and I feel like that is why I've been really enjoying it, because it mixes all the elements that I love from, let's say, like an isekai into kind of something like a power fantasy, but keeps it grounded enough to where it doesn't feel like he's just getting too strong too quickly. And also, the characters get a lot of development as well, which that is a huge bonus for me. One of the big things I hate about power fantasies usually is that all the side characters usually just get thrown to the side and thrown under the bus, and they don't get a lot of time to shine, a lot of time to really grow. But all the characters, especially that I've seen so far, have really gotten a lot of character development and growth. Maybe not the most, but they've gotten character development, a lot of focus. And the latest chapters have done a good job with kind of doing this, and even the constellations that are like sponsors giving different money and stuff to these individuals, we're getting a lot more about their personality and kind of development on them as the story progresses. Like, for instance, the secretive plotter and how they've been kind of giving money here and there, acting very amused by certain things throughout the story. We can kind of get a good grasp on what they like and what they don't like while we venture through the story. And I like stuff like that. I like finding out more about characters gradually, and when you finally come to maybe one day meet them or know who they really are, you're able to understand what they would actually do or what they would not like to do. So yeah, I like Omniscient Reader. I feel like this series is just such a good read, and that many people should give it more of a shot, because like I said, if you're looking for something that is in the same realm of Solo Leveling, but different enough to where it stands out and potentially could even surpass Solo Leveling, give this series a shot. It's good. It's really good. It's got like 80 plus chapters right now, so it's quite a good binge read, actually. You could really binge read it, have a good journey. It's got like 5 scenarios going on. Just, yeah, once again, just shout out to that series. Oh, and one last thing, I just want to say, the images I've shown cannot even begin to describe the absolute beauty that is Omniscient Reader's artwork. Like, the artwork really is beautiful, and it really is reminiscent of Solo Leveling's artwork if you've read that series. So if you also are a big sucker for good art and good-looking fights, then Omniscient Reader also has that as well. But before I wrap up this video, though, I just want to say thank you so much, Webtoon and all of you guys that continue to support me and allow me to make videos like this. It does help me out a lot. And, if you want to read the series for yourself, link is in the description. It does help me out, too. But be safe, everyone. Thank you so much for watching this video. And if you want more of my content to appear in your YouTube feed, then, please hit that subscribe button down below. But with that, Chibi out.